Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Dear Sangat Ji, thank you for joining this event. We have Giani Sukhraj Singh Ji on the Sikh Discord server here today. We're very honored to have Giani Ji here today. Today's session will be in Q&A, and Bhai Sab Ji will be answering the questions which the Sangat had the opportunity to ask questions for a whole day. So I hope and guess questions gathered for the whole Sangat. We do have weekly events. This is today's Saturday's event, and without further ado, Ganiji will now read the questions out and answer them. And please make sure to share and let more Sangat benefit. This program is going to be in English, so everyone can understand. Thank you, Bhai Sab Ji. आप जी शुरू कर सकते हैं जी।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ and Guru Khalsa Saad Sangat ji. Thank you for inviting me into this Q&A. This is obviously the first time I'm doing this like this, so hopefully everything goes well. There are obviously questions that have been in the event box. I'm going to read through the questions and just answer them. If anybody wants any sort of further elaboration to the answers, because there's quite a lot of questions, I'm going to try and get through as many of them as possible. Then I think however you message, and if it keeps coming up below, then I'll pick those up as we go along. So the first question: yogis or yogis slow down their breaths to extend their lives. They put their breaths into their 10th gate, the Dasam Dwar, so they could live longer with just a breath. They offered this knowledge to Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, and obviously that discussion is through Sri Japji Sahib. Does this knowledge still exist, or has it disappeared? Why isn't it used today? What is the longest someone has lived with this knowledge? So the Siddhs, who were those yogis, they had the knowledge of yoga. Jog actually translates to join, and that practice was a way that they would join, or their aim was to join with the Almighty. In that path, they would use physical techniques, because yoga is not really spiritual, it's physical. It's a physical technique to try and walk or go on this path and open up, if you will, different spiritual stages through a yogic way. Now, holding their breath to live longer lives, that's what the Siddhs did. Some of those Siddhs had lived for a few hundred years when they met Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji. Now, in terms of Gurmat, that is not Gurmat. Gurmat is to live in the Hukam of Akal Purkh Vaheguru. So we live however our life is. And when we do Naam Simran Avyas, those that have done this, they will realize that and if they go into deep samadhiya, that deep concentration, their breath is held as well, because you can open your Dasam Dwar through a yogic channel or through Guru Di Kirpa through Nama Abhyas. If you go into those samadhiya, then your breath is held as well. But you don't do this for holding your breath or living longer lives, because this is for the khushi, the love, the experience of oneness with Vaheguru. So when it says, why isn't this practice still used today for Gursikhs? It isn't. There are people that have been found in deep meditation from previous ages. There was a news report I read on the English BBC News a few years ago, and it actually had the picture of a cocoon and a person who had been sitting in a meditation position, and their body had not decomposed, and they still had, if you will, lalli, we call it, so redness in their skin. So it showed that they were in a deep state, and they were taken to a museum. And then obviously, because they've been touched, or because of how they've been taken out of that cocoon, maybe they were here from a previous age, they will have left the world. They have died, essentially. But if they weren't touched, they may have still remained alive because their body had not decomposed. So what is the longest someone has lived with this knowledge? I don't know that, because it's not Gursikhi, it's not Gurmat practice. We know the Siddhs had lived for a few hundred years. We know there was Gursikhs that did the darshan of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, and then Guru Sahib Ji said, you'll continue living and you'll meet Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. I forget that person's name now. off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody here will be able to remind us. And so people have lived, and people can live now, but those people who do this, they're obviously not in the world. They're out somewhere separate, so we will never maybe come across them. The next question: how long should our kirpans be? Our kirpans, by Pyare Bhai Daya Singh Sahib ji, if we listen to Sant Giani Jarnail Singh Khalsa ji's katha or parchar, they say that Pyare Bhai Daya Singh Sahib ji, they never left a 3 foot, like a full Siri Sahib 3 foot kirpan away from their body. Now, over time, we have miniaturized kirpan. We can have shastra in our damale. We can have shastra on our bodies. Vad to vad shastra we want, because Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji gave that hukam as well. And we know Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji kept a small kirpan in their dastar as well. We see that from Hajur Sahib. But our kakari kirpan essentially is to be used. It's used to defend against oppression, fight against fight against paap and sin and any kind of oppression, stand up for the righteous way, but also Poglavana, when we do Poglavana of Kada Prasad or Langar. And in terms of length, I know that Sant Kartar Singh Ji, Pindramwale, Sant Giani Jarnail Singh Ji, they would do Prachar because Karpans had gone so small, even in that time, and people stopped wearing them, that they did the Prachar that you should wear at least 9 inches. 9 inches. And their prachar was that a karpan has to be a gatre wali karpan, your kakari karpan has to be a gatre wali karpan within a myan. If we have extra karpans as part of our shastra, as part of what we keep, that's obviously allowed. But your kakari karpan, Sant Giani Kartar Singh Ji Khalsa and Sant Giani Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa, they would do prachar that would have to be a minimum of 9 inches in a gatra, in a myan, to kind of make sure people are going into that practice of having a karpan. The bigger it is, the better it is. So question 3, if Vaheguru is everywhere and inside everything and every space, then is Vaheguru in space? If yes, then how? Vaheguru Ji is within space and without space. Remember, they're the creator. There are 5 elements: fire, earth, water, air, and something called ether, which is nothingness, like no air, no space. And it's called Akash. And that's what we say, a non-atmosphere, if you will. Vaheguru exists throughout all, because this creation is created, and its energy source is Vaheguru being within it. If Vaheguru wasn't within each and every part of creation, then these things would not exist. Whether they are positive, whether they're negative, whether they're pure things, dirty, however we think of these things, if Vaheguru's energy source, I'm using that phrase energy source, but if Vaheguru's energy source is not within, then there's no creation, there is nothing. So that's why Vaheguru is within everywhere. Does the style of our dastar matter? Like, does it matter if we wear damala, gold dastar, pataka, pag, parna? We have to wear a dastar that we take on and off, like one page at a time, and we tie it. And in the Raitname it says, Pag chonhe kar bandai. Chonhe. So when we open it up, we have to take the folds out, and we chonke, and then refresh, we tie the star. So patka we use as a kapra over our head, but essentially it has to be a dastar. In sometimes Gursikhs wore the male, they're obviously for jang, and sometimes they wore gol dastar. The jangi, the male, in those dastara, when we have shastra sticking out, then if we carry Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Saroop on those, then our shastra would poke into Maharaj's Saroop. So even gold dastara were used in Maharaj's times when we were doing seva, or Gursikhs were doing seva of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji and Pothis. So dastar has to be tied and untied page by page. Historically, what is the longest punishment that a Sikh has received from the Panj Pyare? What affects a punishment? Does it depend on the Panj, or are there common punishments? Not sure if punishment is the correct word. Yeah, we use the word tanakha. Tanakha is the word that's used when somebody goes pesh to Panj Pyare. Historically, in terms of the Panth, I'm not sure what the longest tanakha is. It's not necessarily about the longest or shortest. If we have to go pesh, or whoever goes pesh, the point is whatever tanakha is given, we must obviously try and make sure that we complete the tanakah as soon as possible. Until that tanakah is complete, until we've done the ardas, we're still deemed as what we call tanakhiya. And only when you finished your tanakah and you've done ardas that you are received back into the Khalsa Pantha. Just an extra, the 5 takts, if you notice the takts have paudiyan that to go up to the takt level. In the times of the Khalsa period, and certainly only in the last 100 years, only an Amritari could go up the stairs onto the levels of the takht, even in the Gurdwara, let's say. And those who were Tanakhaye, who had to go pesh, they weren't even allowed up until they become pesh, and then they were allowed up, because the takhts, only the Khalsa could go, or Amritaris essentially, could go to the higher level. Only recently, the last takht, which that practice stopped, was takht Sachkhand Sri Hajur Sahib. Only recently, around 50s, 60s, did that practice stop. But we know inside where Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Prakash, only Amritaris are allowed in that section. So they've kept it for that area, but it used to be the whole area. Can we put guns in front of Maharaj, just like how we put Kirpans, daggers, stalls? If we can, then why don't we? That depends on the Gurdwara Sahib. Obviously, Maharaj Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji called for Shastra, so you can put any Shastra in front of Guru Sahib Ji. Maybe people don't, because technically you may have to load those Shastra, because why would you put an empty Shastra in front of Maharaj? And so I suppose Gurdwara probably don't put loaded Shastra in the fear, or loaded guns, if you will, in the fear that somebody might pick them up and fire them. But technically, Shastra, any Shastra can be in front of Guru Sahib Ji. How can I convince my parents to let me partake in Amar Sanchar when they are against it? The key there is, if you're old enough to make a decision for yourself, then I suppose you can make that decision. If you are not, then and they're still not letting you, then you've got to try and do as much part and ardasa. And I'm sure when the day comes, when you're blessed, when it's in the command of Vaheguru for you to be blessed with Khandida Bhatida Amrit, then you will. What is the importance of Gur Mantar? Gur Mantar, Vaheguru Gur Mantar hai Jap Home Koi. Jap, when we meditate on that, our Home, our I, our self, our ego, self conceit, that is eradicated. Jap Home Koi. We lose it. On this path of spirituality, the final, let's say, going through our body inwards, the final, after our man, which is made up of the processing part of our mind, the intellectual part of our mind, and the memory function of our mind. Once we surpass those 3, then above those is our ego and our pride, our I-ness, our emotional attachment to this self-existence, physical self-existence. And Gurmantar can destroy and eradicate that, so we realize the divine light of the Almighty which exists beyond there. And that's why the importance of Gurmantar. That is what we call Naam, but Naam has different roots. Mool Mantar, Gurbani, they have Paraskala, like a philosopher's stone. When we touch a philosopher's stone, iron becomes gold. In the same way, when we recite Gurbani, we become one with Vaheguru. So they have the same qualities. Gurmantar is easy to meditate on because it's one word. So, for instance, if I was to say Vaheguru 5 times, I may concentrate the first time, not concentrate the second or third, but then concentrate the fourth, not the fifth. So I've concentrated 2 out of 5 times. But in those 2 out of 5 times, I get the full power, if you will, the full blessing, 2 times out of 5. When I read a Bani, Japji Sahib, for instance, I may only concentrate on 2 paudiyan. So I don't get the full essence of Sri Japji Sahib because I only concentrated on 2 paudiyan. So that's why Gursikhs sometimes feel, if I'm reading a lot of Bani, when does that kirpa come? So one Gur Mantar, you can have all the blessings very, very quickly. And so that's why Gur Mantar eradicates our ego. What is the punishment for Beadbi of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji? There is a Pankti from Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji that says, if anybody does Beadbi of any of our Gurus, then we are supposed to, eradicate them. So that is in Guru Khalsa Ji's times, that is in the Guru's times. That is what the Khalsa gives as punishment for any Beadbi of any of our Gurus. any of our gurus. In fact, the second jang of Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, so they went to Sri Har Gobindpur, and there they put the Guru Khalsa at that time. They put the tents up, and what happened was, I forget his name. The landowner said, "Why are you here?" You know, and Guru Sahib Ji says, "Koina, we're here," and you know. The Gursikhs spoke at that time, you know, Baba Bidi Chand Sahib Ji, Bhai Jetha Ji, those main Gursikhs of the time. And then when he started disrespecting Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, they eradicated him. And when they got rid of him, then his son brought the Mughal forces, which started the second jang out of the 4 jangs of Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. So there are many examples when anybody disrespects Guruji, Gurbani throughout the Guru's times. That's what happens. Why do good people die before bad people? That's not necessarily the case. Everybody dies when it is commanded by the Almighty Akal Purkh Vaheguru. Does abortion align with Sikhi? Sikhi says live in the hukam of Akal Purkh Vaheguru. Obviously, there is a big debate going on, especially in the United States, regarding abortion. There are pros and cons in a worldly sense for whether it should happen and whether it should not happen. Akal Purkh Vaheguru talks about living in the hukam of Akal Purkh Vaheguru. That's what Sikhi talks about. Can Sikhs swear, cuss? Swearing, if we use any type of bad language, Nanak fikka boliye tan man fikka hoy. And if we use any type of bad language, then if we speak in the wrong way, even not even swearing, then our tan, body, man, inner core, wo bhi fikka ho janda hai. So it's probably best if we don't, and we stay respectful. However, there are examples of Gursikhs, and even Guru Sahib Ji themselves in their Bani, they have used words which are deemed as swear words. At what khanda of the 5 khands are you not in danger of falling from? Karma khand would be the one, right? No, you're in danger from falling from any khand, from any place spiritually. When I've had chance to speak to Guru Sikhs over the years, they say even if you've got 1 foot in Sachkhand, metaphorically speaking, your other foot is still not in there, but 1 foot is in Sachkhand, you can still come out. You can still fall. How do you reconnect if you feel like you're falling off the path or panth? Falling off the path, sorry. The best way to reconnect, it's going to require some effort, ardas, Guru Sahib Ji to keep us in your sharan, then going to the Gurdwara and doing seva, listening and or reading the itihas helps us develop love very quickly. So if we listen and or listen to the katha of Guru's itihas, the Guru Khalsa's itihas, what they went through, that will help us reconnect. But ardas vadi cheez hai. Next question. Why do many Mahapurukhs wear white clothes and white dastars? I can't technically answer that question because obviously we have to ask those why they're wearing those colors. These days, so-called Mahapurushas wear, actually, they wear very colorful clothes. Even the deep red clothes that the Ratnam may say we shouldn't wear, even those headry deep green colors that our Ratnam may say we shouldn't wear. These days, I think they wear those kind of colors more. But white is known as a pure color. It's one of the 4 colors of Gursikhi. So if they wear white, they wear white. I suppose that's their choice, isn't it? Should one aim for Shahidi, or is it better to carry on doing Bhakti? Sant Jarnail Singh talked in one of their prachars about if somebody is a shaheed, the amount of lives that their lives have become complete. So if it's only a finite number of lives, then Bhakti, Brahm Gyan is higher than Shahidi. So Shahidi has many levels. You can have Shahidi that you actually have Juj ke Shaheed hunde ho, like Baba Deep Singh Sahib Ji, Bhai Mani Singh Sahib Ji, or sometimes Gursikhs have been Shaheed as collateral. Maybe they didn't want to internally want to be Shaheed, but they become Shaheed. So a complete Shaheed, you have to have Bhakti is higher than Shaheedi essentially. But some of our Shaheeds, like Baba Deep Singh Sahib Ji Shaheed and Bhai Mani Singh Sahib Ji Shaheed, they are already one with Waheguru. So their Shaheedi is the supreme Shaheedi because they're already one with Waheguru. Their Bhakti was complete already. If an Amritari marries a non-Amritari, what are the restrictions within marriage as long as the non-Amritari is working towards Amrit? If an Amritari marries a non-Amritari and they essentially, if they eat the non-Amritari, if anybody eats a non-Amritari's jute, then you have to take Amrit again because you have mixed your jute with a non-Amritari person. So imagine if you're married to a non-Amritari, and obviously husbands and wives, they have, they sometimes they eat each other's jute. Then that necessarily means that you would have to take Amrit again when they take Amrit again because yours essentially your wrath has become Tilla. So it's best that if husband and wife both take Amrit at the same time. Can Sikhs eat meat? Our Bajjar Krayat is not eating halal, but Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji doesn't give agya to eat meat neither. They say ras meetha ras mas. Just like sugar, sweetness is a ras, so is mas. Ete ras sarir ke kah ghat naam nivas. So these are rases of the sarir. And so when we're attached emotionally to ras of the sarir, how can naam reside in that place? How could we become one with God? Essentially, when we eat meat, we have to take the karams. Are we able to defeat our own karam, let alone take karams or actions from elsewhere? The Khalsa have shown that if we've eaten all the patte, even if we've eaten all the grass, all those kinds of things, and the panth is in a jung, jod situation, in Taram jod, then at that point you can do shikar, you can hunt yourself and do it. Now, one would ask me, well, what about the dals, the Nihang Singhs in the dals? The dals have separated themselves from the worldly way and they live in those dals. And so they live a different type of life, but generally we in the Western world, we live lives of luxury. So any meat that we take in, we are going to be taking those karams. I personally cannot, I'm struggling to sarf my own karams. How will I sarf another being's karams at the same time? What is Chandi in Chandi Divar? So Chandi Divar, the Bani, describes the deity, the deity Chandi. But Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, there is a Sakhi just before 1699 when this Pandit comes and says, let's pargat this deity, this demigod Devi, who will give you the Shakti in these battles that you are having. And Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji played along with this occurrence, and he said, you have to. This Pandit says you have to do this Havan. So Guru Sahib Ji, okay, you do the Havan then, and he did this for many months, and he did this Havan. Nana Devi, the mountain, which pilgrims who believe in Nana Devi still even go there. Now it's further up beyond Sri Anandpur Sahib. And at the end, a year or so later, Guru Sahib Ji goes, Devi the Pargat hoi nahi, how is she going to give us the Shakti? The Pandit goes, we have to put a pure person in here. And Guru Sahib Ji goes, who's a pure person? And the Pandit goes, well, let's put Sahibzada Pai Ajit Singh, he's pure. And Guru Sahib Ji goes, but you're a Brahmin. There's nobody more pure than you. Your practice says that you guys are pure. We're warriors. How can a warrior be pure according to your teachings? So Guru Sahib Ji is playing along with this. So the Pandit makes a bahana and tries to come down the mountain. Guru Sahib Ji starts laughing, gives a command to the Guru Sikhs, and they lift the Havan, which is the fire. And obviously, when you pick up logs from a fire and throw them over, sparks fly a little bit more. So this Pandit sees these sparks and he comes back up and he says, look, Chandi's coming, Chandi's coming. And the Guru Sikhs laugh at him. And Guru Sahib Ji at that point recited the Khalsa Mehma that is found in Dasam Granth. And they recited the Khalsa Mehma and said that Chandi that you are calling for. So Chandi can translate to deity, but the Chandi for the Khalsa is this Karpan, Sri Sahib. This is Sri Sahib, this Karpan is what is going to help us in battles, not your Devi. And Guru Sahib Ji then recited Khalsa Mehma, and the Khalsa Panth was revealed in April, some time after that, and they were given the power with the Karpan that we wear. So how did you meet with Waheguru? We meet with Waheguru by meditating on the name of the Lord, and Waheguru blesses us through our perfect Guru, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji and the Guru Khalsa, that they bless us to meet with and become one with the Lord. Can you have informal talks with Panj Pyare before an Amra Sanchar? In addition, if you need to go for Pesh, are you allowed to go to any of the Panj apart from the ones at your Sanchar? That depends on the Panj Pyare at the time, if they have that discussion. Essentially, once they've done the Ardas, then they're in the form of the Panj, and then you can speak to them at that point. Are you allowed to go to any other Panj? If somebody goes to another Panj because they think they're going to get away with things easier or harder or those kind of things, then that's trying to play with Guruji. I think that's wrong. But essentially, where you find Panj Pyare who are tayar par tayar, who read, who keep their ret, then you are generally fine. Who keep the ret of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, then you're fine. Should Guru Sahib's Puratan Kirtan compositions be brought back, and why don't Ragis learn Puratan Kirtan? I'm assuming what you mean by Puratan Kirtan is Tanti Saj. Obviously, there's a push for that now. But Kirtan is Kirtan. Remember, it is the Shabad that makes the Kirtan, not the instrument. So that's an important thing. If you want Ras, the Ras of Naam, you get that from the Shabad. And that's the important thing to remember there. Can we use Dori Karpan as a kakar? From the way I've been taught that the Karpan, your kakar Karpan, has to be Myan Wali in a Gatra. I know other places they allow Dori Wali Karpan, but the way I've been taught is that Khan wear a Sarbalo Pesh Kabaj in Gatra instead of the normal traditional Taksali Karpan. A Pesh Kabaj is exactly that, a Pesh Kabaj. It's not a Karpan. Shastras are different, they have different names. A Kakar is a Karpan, not a Pesh Kabaj. So that's a very important distinction. So when we wear Pesh Kabajis or other Shastra, they are not our Kakar. They might be Shastra that we wear extra, but we still need a Karpan. It doesn't have to be Taksali Karpan as written in this question. It just has to be a full Sarbalo Karpan. What's one thing you think the Sikh youth are lacking today? I think we are all part of this, not just the youth. I'm getting a little bit older, but I think we're all part of this, that our standards of Gursikhi are starting to drop in Kaljug, in the way we live in the Western world, with the introduction of various things, social media, all sorts of these kinds of things. And the standards of Gursikhi are dropping. And we have to bring those standards back. The standards, how, the Gursikh Jathe would save many Bibiyan, Hindu Bibiyan, Mughal Bibiyan, Muslim Bibiyan from even oppression, from atrocities. But our standards are coming to decrease now, where we're falling prey to those kind of immoral activities. How does one grow the love for everyone? When we start doing seva of Gursikhs, from seva we develop nimirta. From nimirta and listening to itihas, then we'll develop love for all. Should you ardas for others? Does it take away? Have a thought for not desire to create the. Should you ardas for others? Does it take away your kamai? Is it okay if something is important, gurmat wise? We can do ardas for others. But obviously, if we're asking from Guruji, I'm not saying it'll take Kamai, because I don't think in those terms, where we, give and take. If we start becoming transactional with our Guru, then that becomes, false love. But surely, if you ask for Guruji for somebody else, that can be seen as their compassion as well. But if it's for worldly things, I think that's wrong. It's for Gursikhi sare di ardas karo, bi sare nu Gursikh Maharaj bana den. If Nirgun Brahm is without Sankalp, how did they have the thought for na desire to create the universe? This person who asked this question is obviously a wise Giani. Actually, even those granths and those scholars' writings, nobody knows. Even the Vedant ask these kind of questions and they get caught up in confusion. Essentially, nobody knows how Akal Purkh Vaheguru. We only describe that they had a furna thought to create. We know it from Gurbani, Oankar Brahma Utpat, Oankar Kiya Janicheta. So whatever they thought, that can be described, that they had a thought. That is a way for us to understand. How Vaheguru did it, nobody knows. What can we as an individual do in order to help the Khalsa Panth to progress? Apa Khalsa Baniye, we take the swanda of our time to listen, believe, and follow the teachings and meditate on the name of the Lord, and we take the swanda of our kirt karke earnings and give that to the Khalsa? How can we find long-lasting in-person sangat living in a remote place? If we're living in a remote place, we have to use that time to do sangat with naam, and by meditating on the name of the Lord. If it's hard to find sangat of other Gursikhs, ek Sikh, do sad sang. If we can find one more, that's perfect. If we can't, Maharaj says you can do the darshan. If you've got a Gursikh can do their own darshan. If they've got Ucha Jivan, and through their own darshan, looking at themselves in a mirror, they'll find Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji's darshan. But we have to have Ucha Jivan, and maybe at that point we have to meditate and have Naam as our sangat. And that brings us to the next question: what is Naam? Naam is essentially the name of the Almighty Lord. We meditate on the name to become one with the Lord, and the Lord themselves, Wahiguru, is also Naam as well, because we become one with Naam, the name of the Lord, that is the Almighty Lord. What are some challenges faced during meditation? Abhyas, not waking up early. Amrit Vela is a positive time to do our Abhyas. Giving up so easily, having resilience is good, because just like a medicine, sometimes it tastes koda, it tastes bitter at the start, and you have to have that resilience to keep going, that tiraj, not to give up, that fortitude. We need compassion, so we can't look down on others. We shouldn't do nindya. We shouldn't get distracted by the worldly way, ego. So the challenge is us refraining from the five thieves, because they will pull us back. But even if we can't wake up at Amrit Vela, we have to find a way to meditate. So do it in the evening, do it any time during the day, until that practice and habit becomes a norm. And then holy, we are able to do it Amrit Vela. So find a way to do it during the day. There are lots of books. Would you suggest a few for those who know nothing? Intermediate. What is a Sikh take on evolution? Oh, sorry. So those who know nothing and intermediate Sikhs. So if I tell you the truth, I am a person who studied mathematics, and then I became a mathematics teacher. Now I'm a head teacher. So I never really had any love for reading books. Uh, uh, and so what I read is Gurbani. And uh, I just feel if we read our itihas alongside reading Gurbani, whether we're intermediate Sikhs or who know nothing, that will start developing our love. So finding that itihas. What is the Sikhs' take on evolution? Did we evolve from monkeys? I mean, I was asked this at a camp a few days last week. I was at a camp and I was asked this question. I answered it very quickly. I said, I know some people believe in that theory of evolution, but I personally believe that there is the 8.4 million birth and death life cycle, and we take through that. And I said, Bhai Gurdas Sahib Ji describes that we've been through those. But further, when I reflected on this this week, and now somebody's asked again, in Japji Sahib we read, Asan loe loe pandar jo kish paya so ekabar. When Wahiguru created Asan, places, loe loe lok lok, many worlds, many creations, pandar, throughout this whole creation, jo kish paya so ekabar. When they did it once at the start. They put everything there straight away. So humans, everything, the life forms, the species. Now, some say some animals become extinct, but they're part of a species that still remain. So I believe that Waheguru created everything, and we don't believe that we evolved from different animals. Are there any sources of Gurbani and Itihas that refer to use of Ayurveda and the history of Ayurveda? Not in Gurbani essentially, but the Gyan of the Gursikhs included the Gyan of Ayurveda. Ayurveda from one of the Veds, and it's a Veds from obviously from a previous age, and so it's good having knowledge in the world. We still go to Western doctors and those doctors have that knowledge of those doctors have developed over time, and they're still rooted in the doctrine, the science of doctrine from previous ages, such as Ayurveda. So there's nothing wrong with using this Ayurveda science, if you will. But in Gurbani, it doesn't necessarily link to that. And Itihas refers to Gursikhs having the knowledge. What is the secret to keeping Rahat? There is no secret. We just have to listen, believe, and follow the teachings, what our Panj Pyare have said to us. You just have to keep that, follow. You have to have that resilience, not to be distracted in the world. Sometimes our own distractors, and say, what are you doing that for? Let's do this. So it's very important to listen, believe, and follow the teachings of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji and the Guru Khalsa Panj Pyare when they give us whatever discipline they gave us. I heard Bhai Mani Singh Ji wrote Rahat Maryada for Sajdari Sikhs. Is this true? If it is, then could Abji share more information on this, please? I don't have the knowledge of this. I have heard that there were some Rahats written for Sajdari Sikhs. But I haven't got the knowledge of that, so I cannot share that at this time. I apologize for that. What's the biggest challenge you faced in becoming a better Sikh, and how do you overcome it? The biggest challenge is the world, this illusion, the material world that we keep getting attracted to. And how do we overcome this? We have to daily listen, believe, and follow the teachings. Do the sangat of other Gursikhs, and they will bless us. They will give us their blessings, and Guruji will give us their blessings to sort of daily have this battle, daily uh, have this battle with the five thieves, so we can become better day by day. How do you reconnect if you feel like you're falling off the path? I think we've answered this already. Uh, where we have to uh, do ardasa, but also listen or read the itihas of our gurus, which bring us back as we understand what the gurus went through, what the Gursikhs Khalsa went through, and that will help us reconnect. And doing ardas all the time. Eggs, parvan. No, I don't believe that we should be eating eggs. I know some people have this phrase ram laddu, but an egg, essentially, from what I've been taught, are not Pradhan. Why do Sikhs hate each other? Sikhs should not hate each other. We shouldn't hate anybody, let alone other Sikhs. So hopefully Guru Sahib Ji blesses all, that we all lose our hate, so we become only lovers of Waheguru. What if we have a less than positive hukamnama at a wedding, happy occasion? What should we do? Read it or just ask for another, or do ardas for Maharaj instead? My view is whatever hukamnama we get, that's the message. They're probably giving us a warning. It doesn't mean that anything bad is going to happen. It just means that we should follow what Guru Sahib Ji is saying to stop anything bad happening in the future. Is it okay to do more Bani after Kirtan Sohila? Usually after Kirtan Sohila we're supposed to sleep, but if we're supposed to be doing Atipair, Vahiguru, remembering Vahiguru, then it's fine to do extra part, but ideally we do the extra part, then do Kirtan Sohila, then go to sleep. What are the conditions that defines a Kakari Karpan, like the blade style, handle material, where it has to be Sarbalo, and it has to be the sort of style where it kind of has that kind of curve towards the end. It's all Sarabalo because we do Pog Lavana with it. That's why it's always all Sarabalo, because you can merge the Sarabalo to make it all completely Sucha. In marriage, is the house husband Pati Parmeshwar? Does the Singhni's life revolve around the husband? If we have the view that our Pati, and we do the seva of our Pati like Parmeshwar, the Pati must take those qualities of Parmeshwar. And if the Singhni and the Parmeshwar then protects the Singhni, I suppose the Singh and Singhni have to have that union. And if it is set up in a way of Gursikhi Prem, Gursikhi Seva within the different forms, then that house is usually prosperous. What should I do if I'm not too tired to do my Reras or Nitnem? What should I do? Sometimes I feel lazy and I don't feel like doing anything. We have to do our Nitnem. That is, the Nitnem is what is going to keep us going. If we stop doing our Nitnem, then we'll become more lazy, and then we'll stop a lot of things. So it's very important we do our Nitnem. Is anyone allowed to use Shastra that the Guru Sahib used? The Shastra which are on display, these would be in special circumstances. I suppose if there's a Jangjo, then those Shastras that are there, I'm sure a Khalsa could pick up and use those Shastras. Have any Shastras exhibited any special properties? Fire emanating from the Shastra, for example. This is a serious question, just to be clear. I have not, uh, in my knowledge, ever heard of that example of fire emanating from a Shastra. Maybe there is. That's why you've asked that question. Shastra do have special qualities because uh, the Shakti of Vaheguru is within Shastra. We say, Yeah, Hamare Peer. We worship Shastra. That is the power of Vaheguru. So Vaheguru can do anything through the Shastra. Is Tadka bad for Bhakti? Please share your thoughts on Satoguni diet and lifestyle as opposed to the other two guns. Please go into as much detail as you wish. Uh, if we eat tamogun types of foods, then our mind will also always be tamoguni. If we eat rajoguna type of foods, then we will our ego still doesn't eradicate. Now, satogun is also a form of maya. It's maya with ego, but it's simpler than rajogun and tamogun. So if we eat satoguni foods, wear satoguni clothes, I know Gursikhs in the past would do that. That's partly why, going back to the question, why do Sants wear white? Because they would live and eat in a satoguni lifestyle. Satogun doesn't eradicate the ego, but it takes us closer. Because if we're tamogun, that is completely lazy, that is animalistic. And so therefore, Satoguni lifestyle is good. The Satoguni lifestyle is good, but there is still ego there. So it's important that we don't uh, get distracted by that ego. But it's surely good to do that, and it gives us a simplistic way of life. Is it okay for me to read Gurbani in English, Latin alphabet? I'm still learning. What I would do is when I learned Gurbani, that's the first way I learned through transliterations. But I would listen to a Gursikh who reads Shuddh and then follow along, and then Holi you may be blessed and you'll be picking up the Gurmukhi Akkar, and then you'll be able to read it Shuddh, because it should be Shuddh. So play a tape along with the Bani if you're going to read it in that way. How do you change the mindset of reading Nitnem Bani as a chore? We if we love something, then we will automatically do it. To develop love, if we feeling it is a chore, that's what I've mentioned itihas, history, so many times here. The Gursikhs and Mahapurushas that I stayed with, they used to say to me that anytime you're losing love or anytime you're feeling everything is a chore, when you read the Sakhi of the Sahibjade, when you listen to the Sakhi of Sri Guru Arjan Dev Sahib Ji, when you listen to the Sakhi and the Seva of Mata Khivi Ji, Mata Ganga Ji, Maipa Goji, when you hear the Khalsa Itihas, then then you automatically develop that motivation, and then therefore the chore goes away. And as we read more Gurbani, we're inspired further. And when we hear about the Gursikhs, Sadhus, we're inspired that we want to become like them. So therefore we start reading that Bani. So then it doesn't become a chore. Why did Maharaj give bhajan that whoever reads the Kartarpur Bir will go blind? Is it due to Hankar or the family looking after the Bir, or that Bir wasn't completed? I cannot actually remember that bhajan, but I know the Kartarpur Sahib the bead, which is the bead of Sri Guru Arjan Dev Sahib Ji and Bhai Gurdas Sahib Ji describe. The complete form of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji now is known as the Damadama bead. So the Kartarpuri bead is kept by Tirmal. Tirmal lineage, who went against Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, even though Uh, I don't know about this bhajan I was saying. And the Tirmal, the grandson of Sri Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, he went against Guruji. He wanted to become the Guru himself, and he had that Guru Granth Sahib Ji the bead, and then he tried to get Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji Shaheed. Even got a Masand to fire a bullet at them, and so maybe it's linked something in that way. But that Kartarpuri bead is there. But we believe in the complete formula that Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji gave us, which is known as the Damadami bead, which includes the Bani of Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji. And then I'm dying to meet a Brahmgyani. Where do I find one? Please make me meet one, and I will chop my head off and offer it to you. There's no need to chop your head off to offer it to me. Just offer our mind to our Guru by meditating on the name. And if you have an itcha to meet a Brahmgyani, we can't meet Brahmgyanis. They allow us to meet them. So if you want to meet somebody who's one with Vaheguru, you keep meditating on Vaheguru and you will meet these kind of Gursikhs. Is Sant Gyani Jarnail Singh Ji Shaheed? My view is they are not, because that is what I was told by Baba Thakur Singh Ji, and Baba Thakur Singh Ji I totally believe in. in terms of what they said to me. So I don't believe that they are shaheed. I know many people do. And if you do believe they are shaheed, then there's nothing wrong with being a shaheed. But because Baba Thakur Singh told me that they are not shaheed, I believe that. Is it true if we go to Damdami Taksal and write the Gurmukhi alphabet in the sand with a quill on paper, we will attain true Gyan? It's not at Damdami Taksal, it's at Damdama Sahib, where Sri Guru Govind Singh Sahib Ji and Sri Guru Granth gave us the full form of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji by Mani Singh Sahib Ji as the scribe. Likhan Sar Sahib Gurudwara Sahib. It's on the end. As you walk towards Damdama Sahib, it's the first Gurudwara that comes on the right, just as we're about to walk up the stairs to the Takht Sahib. And it's called Likhan Sar Sahib. There's a sarovar there. And there used to be a lot of sand. And if you write the 35 Akhar, the 35 letters of the Gurmukhi alphabet, then you said to obtain Brahm Gyan. I have been shunned as a Sikh. What do I do? Everyone has shunned me. How do I change my karam? I cannot comment because I don't know how that means. If somebody shuns us, our Guru never shuns us. Our Guru never turns our back on us. So if we believe other people have turned their backs on us, then what we have to do is we turn to our Guru, meditate on their name, do the seva of the Khalsa, and then Guru will always be with us. How can I love Gurbani and be motivated? We've got to keep reading it over and over again. The love will develop. And also, like I kept saying throughout this, listen to Itihas, and from there we will be blessed. Would Abji be able to do Ardas for me, Ji? I will do Ardas for everybody. Guru Sahib Ji, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Sri Guru Khalsa Ji, Kirpa Karo, bless us all with Gursikhi. Bless us all with Naam. I really believe that if all Gursikhs were blessed with Naam, then we would be all in that perfection, that place of perfection in oneness with the Almighty Lord. I have been told that it is better to ask for Swaswa Simran as opposed to Maharaj's Partak Darshan. Is it true? Guru Nanak Dev Ji's father also only asked for darshan in previous life and therefore got them but didn't even realize it. These are technical points, I believe. ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਅਬ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਹਾਂ of Vaheguru, Abanasi darshan, that is oneness with Vaheguru. If we ask for Swaswa Simran and we are completely focused and meditate on that Simran, then we're connected to Vaheguru as well. I would say don't get caught up in these things. Just meditate on the name of the Lord and be blessed and be asked and ask to meet and become one with Vaheguru. I've done many big things, including the 5 big things. What would I be saved? Well, you need to go to the Guru Khalsa Panj Pyare and they will be able to bless you and save you. Would Abji be able to come on again for a talk? I'm sure at some point, Guru Sahib Ji Kirpa Karan, I'll try my best and I can come on and do a talk with you all. So I think we've come up to the hour there and there's no more questions at the bottom of the screen. So I think we've come to our time.
Waheguruji. Yes, as Giani said, we've reached the end of the Q&A now. A big, huge thank you to Giani for giving time to us all, answering all the questions and giving us the Gyan knowledge that we need to progress in our Sikhi. Thank you to all the Sangat for attending the talk as well.
Sahib, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and all the Gursikh listeners, I apologize if I've offended anybody in answering these questions. Obviously, I have my opinions and what I've been taught, and they may not necessarily be in what you've been taught. So if I've offended anybody, or my views are different to your views, because the way my karam have led me in my life, this life, by Guru Sahib's command, I apologize. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Like I said, I hope we all be blessed with Gursikhi. I hope we all be liberated from the birth and death life cycle. I pray that we all become one with the Vaheguru. That's all I want. So if I've offended anybody, I beg for forgiveness. I just want to say thank you to everybody for having me and apologize again. And Guru Sahib Ji blesses all.
The formal Q&A session has ended. Thank Maharaj and Giani Ji for their amazing seva.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa. Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.